Today on the Wise Practice podcast, I have repeat guest Joshua Brummel, who is the co-founder of TherapyFlow, a marketing and CRM company. With over 8 years of experience working in private practice space, he's played a pivotal role in helping practice owners build seven-figure businesses by driving marketing success for thousands of clients. TherapyFlow is known for its ability to help therapy practices launch paid ads, having managed more than $3 million in ad spend. They know not only how to generate a consistent client flow, but also can ensure a return on your investment. Joshua is the author of The Flow, a newsletter with over 15,000 weekly readers, and host of Group Practice Con, a practice owners conference for seven-figure practices. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. That's for sure.
Yes, I'm super excited about this. I like to always think about how did I meet the people that, I call friends now. And that was years ago. You just reached out to me in an email, I
Yeah.
believe. And then we
Yeah, it was,
connected.
yep. It was just a cold message. We'll probably talk about that today in terms of some of the topics that we'll get into for benefits for the therapy practice.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you being here. And obviously, Joshua is one of our keynotes at the Wise Practice Summit this year. So particularly looking forward to that. But today, let's really get into the meat of this because I want to know about ways to market that are actually going to get me a return on my investment and maybe not as much of an investment.
Yeah. I've talked in my newsletter and other places what I call the marketing success formula. And the essentially way we pick it apart is you need a good strategy. You need to do that strategy at a high enough volume, right? You need to do enough of it to get a result. You need to do it long enough, consistent enough to get a result, and you need to do it with some level of skill. And if you do all those things together, when you go to market your practice, you'll get a good result. So, especially when we're talking about strategies that are higher ROI, in marketing success formula, usually there's a requirement to get the ROI. We either have to really push up the volume to get a better ROI or really push up the consistency to get an ROI. And that's where we're going to sit today is saying, hey, what are those small tactics and some probably channels that we've heard of, marketing channels like email or social or networking? How do we actually need to approach that to turn it into a low cost, high ROI channel?
Great. I'm already involved. I'm like staring. Tell me
There we
more.
go. Yeah, I'll take something like email marketing as an example, and I'd say this is probably I talk to practice owners every week, and I ask them, "Are you doing email marketing?" And they say no. And so I suggest three quick ways to do email marketing inside of the practice because email is practically free. Now, the caveat is you kind of need a list. You could do some research on our own content or HIPAA compliant. Today is not the venue for like your privacy policy and your HIPAA compliant software. You need a CRM like TherapyFlow or something, but there's lots of ways to do email marketing correctly. We'll set that aside and then just say email is very cheap to send. And when it's done well, it will help clients, current clients, stay with you longer. It will help previous clients get reactivated into services again or new services, and it will convert more of the leads you're already getting into clients at a later time. Most therapy practices market to the person who's ready to sign up for therapy today. Or if they discharge a client, they kind of forget about them 6 months, 12 months, 3 years later, even though circumstances can change. So your email marketing strategy is to reach back and pull more value from old clients or pull forward and pull more value from your current leads. That's the general premise. And you do this in one of two ways is the first recommendation. Send a value-driven weekly newsletter. This could be filled with perspectives from yourself, from your clinicians. This could be filled with community resources, blogs, the best this week. This could be filled with a lot of different things, but a weekly or a monthly newsletter. Newsletter is a misnomer because we don't want it to, shout we have updates, clinicians, X, Y, and Z. It really needs to be value education or value resources. Hey, take a look at this, read this. Here's a clinician perspective. We could unpack that more, but newsletters is probably the first big way I'd suggest starting email marketing for most therapy practices.
That's great. Weekly? You think weekly?
If If the value is there, weekly is going to be great. Otherwise, I'd move it to monthly. But this goes into the volume and consistency bucket of that formula. The more you email, the more you're going to have it be a positive channel. The less you email, the harder it is to get any result from it, even though you could get some result. So a weekly newsletter at minimum is going to give you the best bet across the longest time horizon to nurture that list and convert them.
I've never heard that before. I love it.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So I bet practice owners are listening going, but Joshua, I don't have time and energy to do an email list.
Yeah. So this past week, I had an admin came to one of my coaching calls and he pulled up an email that one of the clinicians had written with some thoughts, some self-reflection questions and other things. And we had gone through a couple iterations of this email so far. So a couple layers in there. An admin went and talked to clinicians and a clinician wrote it. So if you're a group practice and you have a couple clinicians, maybe you start monthly. Think of it this way, you only need 12 newsletters written for the year, or you need 40 to 50 newsletters written for the year. And that content can come from multiple different sources if you make the ask or start to set it up. The other piece is you can also repurpose content to make it more worth your time. This is the ROI element. Every week I write my newsletter, but then I use it as the template for the blog that we write that week, the YouTube video that we write that week, and the social media post we write that week. So I seed the thought, so it's a high value thought and a high value written piece of content, but it can turn into 7 or 8 other things, which it's still worth my time to sit down and spend an hour a week and write that newsletter because my leverage on across other marketing channels is 5 to 7-fold and the quality remains.
That's great. Yeah. When was a very small group practice and first set up my email list, I would make 2-minute videos, send them to my admin, and she'd do everything you just said. She would
Yeah.
make emails, she would do the blog, she'd do the post, and it took 2 minutes of my time. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other things you can go the extreme. I write longer letters, but one of my favorite newsletters that I follow is called the Mosey Minute, and it's usually like 3 to 4 sentences, and it takes me less than a minute to read, and it's usually like a jot down thought. So there's lots of styles of writing in different lengths and formats that you can figure out for what to include. The other format for a great newsletter is you become an aggregator of resources. So especially if you're a brick and mortar practice, it can be like a weekly or a monthly flavor of the week where you actually feature your community partnerships, other businesses, opening pieces, and an admin or even an overseas virtual assistant can really put that content together and it can be valuable to the person reading that, but it doesn't have to be always clinically minded or buttoned down, but you get the tangential benefit from it.
Yeah, we started doing that pretty recently. And then we emailed the business and say, hey, we featured you in our newsletter, da da da. And we let the therapist give us ideas like, here's where
Yeah.
I'll go to yoga and the gym and all that kind of stuff. So that's great.
We'll move into networking in just a second because it bridges to that. But I want to give one other form of email marketing, and that's just reactivation emails. I recommend most practices send a quarterly reactivation email to their whole list of past clients, essentially. If that feels like too much because you're a solo practice and you have a pretty small list, do it maybe annually or biannually. And essentially, it's just a quick hello, we still exist. Here's some updated specialties, pieces, processes that we do. Let us know if we could ever help or book a call. It should be short and sweet. It should just be a book a call, book a consult, one single call to action, and it's just staying top of mind. If you're a larger practice, quarterly is great. If you're a smaller practice, 1 to 2 times a year is great. Every practice we have do this gets clients from it every single time, and very few practices are actually implementing it on their own.
Nice. Love it. All right. Networking.
Yeah. So what we just described when we talked about featuring other businesses is what we call an offer and or a reason to network, which is kind of where networking has gone to. Simply showing up and saying, hey, send me clients, or simply, do you want to sit down for coffee? Or, hey, let me X, Y, and Z. That can kind of fall on deaf ears pretty quickly. But if you can have some sort of reciprocity, So for you, you build a ton of relationships by having a podcast for your Wise Practice community. The amount of people you get to connect to and build client relationships with that help affect your business is huge. More therapists should have a podcast for their practice, a blog that features other providers that they put into their website, a newsletter that they send out featuring all of the businesses in their community on a monthly basis, a annual wellness conference, a fill in the blank. It's huge ROI because often it actually take a lot of like dollars to run these strategies. It takes a little bit of consistency and infrastructure, but it gives the reason for the networking to exist. So your opt-in rate is higher and your successful relationship ecosystem is way higher. And most therapy practices are like, where do I start with networking? Come up with an offer, come up with a reason to exist and have that conversation to exist. And it will go before you way faster and better in 2026 and beyond than it did 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I love that example. Like, it's so true. I've grown my business because of my podcast, not just because people listen to it, but because of the people I get to meet and interview. And then those lead to other relationships that I get to have. So that was spot on. And I had not ever thought of it like that. And then with the emails and the offers, one thing that we do that has been super successful is we do like a teaching for school counselors every year. So in the
Yeah.
fall, invite them to come to our practice and a therapist teaches a concept. So we did like trauma informed understanding of like symptoms that go on in the classroom so that you know what students to be aware of and who to send out for therapy and that kind of thing. And we send that out to all the school counselors and then they come to our practice. So,
Yeah,
and it's low cost. It's really just through email and a Google form where you RSVP and then we provide them some coffee.
definitely. 100%. This fits into the category like imagine a Venn diagram, a philosophy I have in marketing that lets your marketing efforts be higher ROI. Uh, you want marketing to be worth one, two, three, five times the amount it is than on its own. So a podcast cuts both ways. You get the benefit of putting a podcast out there that potential therapy listeners might want to listen to, get value, and become clients with. But you also get the benefit of networking with all of the businesses, other practice owners, X, Y, and Z when you bring them onto the podcast. It cuts multiple directions at the same time. The same is true for what I shared about newsletter and repurposing that into multiple places. So a good rule of thumb is your marketing ROI will be smaller if you can't figure out any additional tangential benefits other than one when you choose to go in on that strategy. And so you're limiting your footprint if you're only choosing essentially one input, one output strategies for marketing your practice. Psychology Today would be a really good example. You put up a profile, you get what you get, you don't get what you don't get, and it has almost no tangential benefit in 2026 to have that profile.
Okay, I'm still trying to grasp what you're saying here. Keep going on the
Yeah.
psychology today example.
Um, all it all to say is when we put a profile on Psychology Today, the buck stops there. There's almost no other benefit other than what maybe Psych Today can give us compared to if we start and we publish a video on YouTube every week of our podcast. There's multiple different ways we can win from producing that content and getting our name out there for marketing ROI.
Yeah. So what are those ways that we can win with the YouTube?
Yeah. So that's the other piece in 2026. It doesn't cost very much to produce content other than time. And so if you're looking over a longer time horizon for your practice of saying, how do I leverage my time for other resources for some of those pieces, that's where you need to be to market your practice. So going back to that newsletter analogy, that YouTube video can also be repurposed into blog content, into social media, into
Mm-hmm.
smaller clips. And so a lot of the work is breaking apart and making that piece of content a lot more valuable for some of those different pieces. And then it also really helps your search engine optimization. So now with AI search and with SEO search, they want high quality content. So we
Yeah.
can pull that YouTube video out, embed it into a page on your website, generate those show notes, those topic notes, the video overview notes, create a whole new page in your website. And that can get pulled into the AI search, that can get pulled in for regular SEO. And now that 20-minute YouTube video a week, again, is worth multiple impact points than just the all views you might get natively on YouTube.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Super helpful. And that's kind of how I do my podcast. It's like
Yeah,
now we have a little short that goes on Instagram, or my email list talks about the podcast. It's on YouTube, it goes on my website. So that was really helpful.
definitely. So when we're thinking about these different layers, a lot of the best practices that therapy practices need to see and take advantage of are being utilized in other industries and other business formats first. Right before you and I hopped on, we were talking about like a free lead magnet, which is another low cost way to generate more clients and build more marketing. And I'll unpack this a little bit. Facebook ads and Google ads are really expensive in 2026. TherapyFlow still loves them and does them for tons of different clients, but they have one major problem, and that's how much they cost for what you'll get out of them, especially because not everyone who looks at an ad is ready to do therapy today. And the success of Google Ads is measured on how many people signed up for therapy this week or this month from the Google ad. But we can really change the dynamic if more people get on our email list, more people grab that free lead magnet, and we can be patient and be consistent for a long enough time period for them to convert into a therapy client later. They might need their pain coming from the different layers of their life to get a little bit heavier before they're actually willing to get started, right? They might need to get their spouse on board for that work. They might need to try another therapist that's in network only to realize they're only going to get the care from the cash pay expert practice in town. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people can't sign up with you today and they'll sign up later. And the main reason also is just people procrastinate on the premise of getting started, which is a little bit weird because as a therapist, you're like, they just should sign up right now. But that's not always how that works for services. So a lead magnet, something that will teach, train, give value that's consumable when it's a part of your marketing ecosystem on your website, a part of your ad, in the notes of your YouTube video, anywhere where people are interacting with you, but not quite ready to make a decision. It can be another way to generate more leads, send them emails, convert clients cheaper down the road.
This is so good. I remember doing a training, or maybe it was actually somebody's email that I followed, and she was talking about the difference between the percentage of conversions for a social media post versus an email.
Yeah.
Like people are way more, it was like 6 times more likely to convert on an email than from a social media post. So I love what you're saying. It's like we're focusing on the actual thing that's going to convert them, which is getting them on the email list, right?
Yeah. It's also about what you own. You don't own your social media following or really your account. Algorithms change, processes change. You don't own the traffic from your Google ad until they actually opt in. With HIPAA compliance, we can't build a fancy retargeting process to go and serve those ads again and again to clients till you get them to opt in with you. So having low barrier to entry to get that email and send them emails is very much what's needed for higher performance results in marketing for therapy practices.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're kind of speaking to this. I don't know if you said it quite like this, but I'm thinking how people get online and they can get something easy.
Yeah,
Oh, here's a PDF to help me with my anxiety or this thing that I'm going through. So they're not having to make that big commitment to come into therapy yet, but they're making a small commitment that's leading them to something else.
definitely. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I was also thinking about people's emotional states when they see things. I bet that you were talking about, oh, they might have to talk to their spouse or they're not ready yet. Maybe if they're really emotional, then they'll be ready.
Yeah. I want to talk about that volume piece in the marketing success formula. Just like when it might not make sense to buy a $7 water at a gas station
Okay.
because you can go to Costco and buy that same pack of water for $30 and get 50 of them. The same is true in some marketing venues of things where it looks like it's not worth the effort, mainly because we're not doing enough volume of that effort. Search engine optimization, it could be one great example of it. Networking is actually another one of those. if we are committing to doing networking in our community, but we're only doing like one or two, maybe three or four outreaches a month, having it take up both the brain space and trying to like track and measure and do the strategy, it's going to feel like way more effort than it's actually worth. Versus if we're committed to the idea of saying, for my therapy practice, we want 150 engaged community partners. And you build the whole strategy around a big number like that. We know that if we actually achieve 150 engaged community partners, it will transform our business and be an incredible strategy and networking channel. So sometimes chunking up a large enough number and saying, how do we even build a system? How do we reach out to enough people? What do we define an engaged community partner? Why 150 versus 100 versus 200? Answering those questions about volume will give you answers on how to do it, but then also make the result worth it and the ROI off of that way larger and possible compared to the 4 coffees a month has no effect or no benefit to the business at all.
Hmm. Okay, making sure I understand correctly. So it's kind of finding your partners and then just really sticking really well with those people instead of constantly reaching out to new people. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's a mix of that, but it's also saying that, it might not be worth it for us to only reach out to a couple a month because we'll never get a big enough result from that unless we really commit to reaching out to a lot until we hit a sustainable volume and keep them engaged.
Mm-hmm.
SEO could be another example where I use this. If a therapist is only from the start posting 1 or 2 pieces of content into their website, we're putting in some effort, but we're almost guaranteeing in 2026 with how SEO and other layers are going for websites that we're never going to see a positive result from that effort. Though if we start to do 8 to 12 optimized blogs or pages or pieces of content on a monthly basis, we are almost going to guarantee that we get SEO and AI search benefit from it. So we have to really increase the volume to even get the result to appear make it worth it. So it's a little bit of like an all or none type situation. And often therapy practices are choosing to do the strategy, but they don't realize that by just doing a little bit of it, they will never get a result from it, which is tough.
Mm. Huh. So I'm curious what you think about this because I had someone who was an expert tell me that Google cares less about the amount and they care more about the quality and the expertise of it. Because I used
Yeah.
to always think it was about amount. So that's kind of what I hear you saying.
Yeah. I think when we're talking about niche SEO specific strategies, I describe ranking a little bit like getting up to the top of the mountain. There's probably 5 or 6 different great ways to make that journey happen. And different experts are going to have different ways to guide someone to the top of a great website ranking. So the hard part with that is there's actually a lot of great ways to do it. And sometimes it's saying, hey, how much of this, how much of that? It's a little bit like cooking a great meal as well. Like someone's going to spice something different. The fundamental ingredients are there. A really long, high quality article that ranks really well and hits a lot of notes posted once a month is going to be way better than 4 AI generated posts that have no value to them at all. So there's certainly some truth to that. But I'd also say is we have to hit volume and quality. And that's that marketing success formula. We have to do enough of it with enough skill for a long enough period of time to get the result.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. All right. Is there anything we haven't covered with marketing?
Yeah, I think the last piece when I think about large ROI marketing strategies for therapy practices that I see a lot of practice owners not pushing into is website and Google My Business optimization still. And it's not a new strategy or a new tactic, but I'm reminded again and again that a website that clearly communicates what you do, who you serve, and the results that your clients get is still needed and a differentiating factor in 2026. So taking the time to generate real human images and pictures of your practice, taking the time to really wordsmith the words on your homepage and your contact us page, taking the time to make sure that your practice is uniquely but simply communicating the results you get for clients is a huge differentiator in 2026 because with AI tools and content and website templates, everything kind of reverts to the same look, feel, whatever else. And so if you can push to the left or right, but retain quality, huge retaining factor for getting good ROI from any other activities that you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. This has been really helpful. I'm thinking about all the things I want to go do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about TherapyFlow and what you offer to practice owners.
Yeah. I mean, to keep it simple, we help you delegate marketing to people who work with therapy practices every single day so you can focus on other elements of growth that you don't have time for or can't do at the moment. So things like Google ads we run, website optimization, SEO, content generation, and something like a HIPAA compliant CRM to power things like email marketing, intake tracking, and all of that fun stuff. We do some education and other pieces just to help support our practices. But really, if you want performance marketing for your practice to help you grow, that's what we do best and what we'd love to work with therapy practices on.
Mm. And the people I've sent your way, they see the results.
That's the hope.
Yes, yes. So I see in the notes that you are offering a free consult call if somebody purchases a service and mentions the podcast. Is that right?
Actually, I think it's more specific. We'll give you a free month of our coaching and community if you
Okay.
get started with the service and you mention Wise Practice. Yeah,
Nice. Thank you for that. Thank you.
of course.
So tell me about your keynote at the Wise Practice Summit.
Yeah. So beyond marketing, understanding as a practice owner, how do you build and create operations and frameworks that make your entire business thrive is a really difficult thing. So I use the language of becoming a cultivator. When I really boil down to it, I imagine owning my own business a little bit like tending and trying to develop a really great garden. And there's a lot of activities that are inside of that to make your garden flourish and be a great cultivator inside of those different pieces. And it's your rhythms of planting, of pruning, it's your rhythms of watering and fertilizing. And this looks like who you hire, how you build systems, when you build them. This looks like how you coach your employees, how you invest in them. This looks like how you invest in yourself and take care of yourself. And it's the operations, it's the cultivation of the whole environment you find yourself in as a business owner. And so when we have that conversation in October at Wise Practice this year, it's going to be saying, here are your tools to become an incredible cultivator for the unique and beautiful garden that you want to build, the unique and beautiful practice that you dream about and you dream about for your employees.
Mm, I'm looking forward to it. I like that idea of cultivation. It's good. And you always just bring it. Like every time I talk to you, podcast, your newsletters, all the things, like you just bring such great knowledge to the table that I never leave thinking, oh, that was a waste of time. Never. So I'm really excited about what you're bringing.
Yeah, it will be a great conversation, and I'm excited for all of you to join us. This will be my fourth year at Wise Practice Summit in some capacity, and I would say likewise. I have never regretted coming to the Wise Practice and partnering with you on different things, and so I'm thrilled to go to Nashville to join the conversation and be in the room with great practice owners. And if you are thinking about coming to this particular event as you're listening to it, it will change the way that you show up in your business and the next year of growth. And I've heard that time and time again for those that have attended the Wise Practice Summit and have joined Whitney's community. So always thrilled to be a part of it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, thank you for all this today on the show. I will be listening to this episode again and taking notes and getting ready to make some changes in my practice. So thank you again for being here.
Till next time. Thanks.